Hey, I see me. I'm there. Hey, everybody. I hear me too. Yay. Ian says hello and welcome. Teresa says hi. You're early today, only by 2 minutes. It's 1:58. I'm usually a few minutes early because, I'm anxious and can't wait to see everybody.
Better
But
early
welcome.
than late.
Better early than late. Carla says hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Carla. Welcome. More people are showing up. I can see them coming in. Oh, it's been another week. Hard to believe. We survived it so far. Yay. Yep, there's somebody else who showed up. Isn't it the Super Bowl today? Yeah, apparently it is. So we may have fewer people because I don't know who watches football. Not us, obviously. Ian says, please feel free to participate, anticipate, pontificate?
Pontificate.
Yeah.
The T
Yep,
is missed.
yep, pontificate and ruminate about magic. You missed the T there, so that's why I was like, Carla says, how was your week, you guys? It's cold here and we're cleaning up from some snow. We, at the moment, the sun is shining. There's some clouds in the sky. We've had some good, solid rain off and on for the last few days, but it hasn't been like flood levels where we are. Other parts of the state, of course, have been snowed in, inland and so forth, so they've been having fun. But, being where we are, we lucked out on that. Some people apparently were disappointed we didn't get any snow, but not I. I was fine with it. And Bunny's feeling better. He's active again and just hopping around. He just jumped all over the living room when Ian got up this morning because he was so glad to see him. It was pretty cute. And I'm learning more about what bunnies want. I'm starting to tap into bunny thoughts, so it's been fun. Aaron says hello. Hi, Aaron. Teresa says there was an owl photo on my Facebook feed today with the meme that said that it is the superb owl. Okay, superb.
I wonder if that's a thing like the rare butterfly bush. That's just its name and it's not rare in the least.
I don't know.
Or maybe it was a bush for rare butterflies. I don't know.
Or it says or elaborate or intimate or cogitate. Jen says hello everyone. Blessings to you all. Hi Jen. Ickle Pixie says good afternoon, evening all. Hi, welcome. Teresa says superb owl versus Super Bowl.
Aha.
Ah, play on words. I see. Did they spell superb wrong on purpose?
Well, no, you don't get the joke. Super Bowl and then superb owl just has a space in there.
Yeah, but there's a U instead of an E. It's never mind. All right. Robert says, are some of our body pain we get as we grow older manifest because some psychic attack gets accumulated over time in some of our body parts? Probably not. It's called aging. And it happens to every single one of us to varying degrees.
You do get some, you can certainly get some body illnesses and problems, though, due to past traumas and things. If you don't deal with those and they're still bothering you, they can manifest down into bodily problems and issues. So there is some aspect, of your psychic demeanor and stuff affecting your body, but
And that's at any age.
yeah, but that's just, your body reacts, and if you get your problems fixed, and your body can heal.
But I doubt if it's like accumulated from psychic attacks.
No, yeah, no. Normally, your body, you figure a psychic attack, your system takes care of it like an immune type of thing, more or less. Like, it'd react to a cold or something, so it tries to just get rid of it and get it cleared up. So, if you're healing normally in a psychic sense, then you shouldn't accumulate things like that either. Does
Okay,
that make
so
sense?
Catch Manny says, "Can you help me with my spiritual journey education?" Well, I try. I have a lot of videos out that are for your education. Your spiritual journey is individual and personal and up to you. So, I try to offer as much accurate information from my perspective, at least, as I can. Same with Ian. And hopefully share enough, our personal encounters and stories and so forth that give people ideas of where they want to go and how they want to do it. Teresa says, no, I forget how to spell it. Catch Manny says, seen a couple of your videos and I think you might be someone I should learn from. Well, you can, if you want, learn from us. I have a few students that I work with. You can send me an email at chiefrasmagicalcove@gmail.com and we can talk about it. Or you can just keep on watching videos and participating in the live show and see where that leads. Robert says DNA sucks.
Yeah, I kind of agree
Oh,
with that to a certain extent
Violet
myself.
says,
Yeah.
hello, you two. Hi, Violet. Um, and yes, there are certain things that are just genetic and
Yeah.
certain things that are spiritual and can be dealt with in that way. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between them.
I need to go make myself some tea. So I'll be right back.
Teresa says, I had a horrible night last night with 3 bad attacks. When I got back to my laptop, a file that I didn't open was opened. 5 spells and rituals for setting boundaries. I guess that was spirit. Maybe. Catch Manny says, thank you. Very humble. You're welcome. Robert says, Siofra, what do you think can explain the 60 plus plane crash in just 4 weeks? Really bad management and bad maintenance on the planes, and I don't know. WTF? It's crazy. Um, Aging fleets, not doing maintenance like they should, people not, picking up the slack. Certainly here, there's been nothing but chaos as far as what people are supposed to be doing. It's like, a cumulative effect, I think. And eventually, everything just sort of, and then trains catching on fire. know, yeah, it's one of those times. What can I say? Shay says, ha, they have a few videos out for our education. KJM says, sun farts. Well, we have had some um, radio blackout solar storm effects, but the last one was only an R2, and the one before that was an R1, which is even less. So I doubt that they're actually the cause of airplanes falling out of the sky. So, or, catching on fire on the ground while they're sitting waiting to leave. There were 2 of those, wasn't there? It's been wild though, and I try not to read too much into it, except apparently people need to pay more attention. Makes me nervous about flying. Robert says, Teresa, you could use a very high vibe crystal like petalite, quartz crystal, out them super close to you at night. Robert says, Robert, always room for more crystals. Catch Manny says, used to work in the airport with catering food carts. You'd be surprised how lazy or quick the turnovers are. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much prep work you do, things just happen. Yeah, and this is true too. I mean, they didn't even know when they first started flying that there was such a thing as metal fatigue. The first instance that they had where metal fatigue became an issue was a plane landing in Hawaii, and the fuselage from the wing back, I think about 12 seats worth, just came off the plane and exposed the people that were sitting in the plane to the air. And miracle of miracles, the pilot was able to actually land that plane, which is just an amazing feat of willpower and experience. But that was when they discovered that, oh, tiny little cracks from expansion and contraction appear in the metal. We need to find a way to take care of that. So I guess we're always learning about new issues. And of course, people forgetting to put bolts in things doesn't help. Having, doors just sort of fall off and flying over a city. Robert says, it's my experience that told me that petalite crystal is a king badass. And Robert says, agreed, Catch Manny. Astra says, hi. Hi, Astra. Robert says, oh, and also petersite from Africa. I think I have some petersite. Robert says, hi. Hello, Astra. Yeah, so it's strange. Robert says, Siofra, do you know crystals that can cure or ease leg cramps at night or during the day? I wish, because that's one of the things I have. I looked up in my crystal book for some possibilities, but it depends on what's causing them. I've actually started myself on a new medication, a type of muscle relaxant that deals with the nerves coming out of the spine. I've only done it for a couple of days, 3 days now, but it seems to actually be helping because I have one of those weird genetic things that causes me to go into spasm, and it causes my skeletal muscles to spasm. They're really painful when they spasm, and they can make my joints pop out of place, which is highly unpleasant to say the least. And I figure it is just a genetic thing with me. Annoying, but have to deal with it. And I have various tactics that I use to try and alleviate some of the issues that are around it. Robert says, I started to use shungite and apply it over the leg. I will test it. Yes, because cramps can be incredibly painful, especially when they make your joints go out of place. I had a big toe snap like that suddenly in the middle of the night. Yeah, that woke me up. It's like, ow! It was very painful. Asher says, hi, Robert. Yeah, so, figuring out how to deal with whatever body you end up in. When I was younger, I remember, looking at my body and talking in my head about the body I had, and I was pretty pleased with the body I ended up with, all things considered. So I seem to be in a pretty stable environment as far as my meat suit goes. Asher says, hi, Robert. Isabella says, hi, everybody. Hi, Isabella. Asher says, hi, Isabella. Robert says, shungite repairs DNA, so I will try to use it every day. But if your DNA is still set up to do things, even if it's repaired, it still could be a limited success depending on what you got. Teresa says, I sent healing to my friend's hip. Apparently it worked. Awesome. It's always nice when it works. I was always surprised when it worked, when, I did a lot of that in person. But it happened so much and so often, I finally accepted the fact that it did work. So, okay. Robert says, it did, Teresa. And Grateful Owl says, hello. Hi, Grateful Owl. Yeah, I do Reiki sessions periodically and just did one yesterday, actually. So that was kind of fun. I actually enjoy doing Reiki for people and seeing what I'm going to see and letting them know what's up or what I think is up or what I see is up or, you know, sometimes it makes perfect sense to them. And usually people feel better after I send them some healing energy. I don't know if everyone saw this or not, but Jacqueline, one of our fellow witches who I'd been working with for a while, passed away. I had felt her passing a while back, but I couldn't get any kind of confirmation until recently because her family only posted it in January, and I just happened to check again the other day. So that's what happens sometimes. So hopefully she's enjoying playing with the fairies now on the other side. Robert says, yeah, I meant repair and enhance our DNA and our carbon molecules of our body, but I'm hopeful it can work for real. A test will be made over this week. Awesome. Ashley says, hey, Grateful Owl. Robert says, this is up or up? Hi, Grateful. Teresa says, I now have 2 people who have given me permission to do healing anytime I want. And Robert says, you have my permission for me, Teresa. And Teresa says, Robert, what ails you? I find it helpful that people know I'm going to be doing it and that they know when I'm going to be doing it so that they are actively and consciously in a state of mind to receive the energy and to be able to report anything that they
Yeah,
sense.
I agree. It makes it that much more effective if the person can relax and be effective at the time you're trying to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's unconscious in the hospital, that's a whole different ball game. But if somebody, has the wherewithal to be awake and so forth and in a meditative or receptive state, I find it enhances the work and also gives me better feedback as far as where they're at, what they can sense, what I see, what I can sense, and all that. So Teresa says both the people are rather lazy, so they will be receptive. That's not the same thing. Being receptive and conscious, not just being open to receiving. It's like consciously receiving is not the same thing as lazy and receptive.
Yeah, the good example of that is the Catholic Church Eucharist when they give you the wafer. If you just take it as a piece of bread or whatever, just chew it and swallow it, then it doesn't mean anything. It's just a piece of bread. But if you're conscious and awake and you feel that it is the body of Christ and you're intaking this divine force within yourself, then it has a whole entirely different and higher purpose. If you'll excuse me for using a Catholic ritual as an example, but
it's not a bad example. Yeah. Robert says, oh, by the way, Siofra, did you ever work with vase magic, the art of putting inside a vase a sacred object and afterward that object gains power, sort of being on its own conscious being? Not specifically called that. Robert says, what ails me? Magnesium deficiency or hydration problem, which causes leg cramps. Not always, but it does happen. And when it does, wow. Epsom salt baths, I recommend. Absorb the magnesium directly into your muscle fibers.
yeah,
Jay says, I'm so sorry to hear about Jacqueline. Yes, to her dancing with the Fae now. Robert says, yes, sorry about that also. Yeah. Well, she's probably a lot more comfortable because the last message I got from her, she wasn't in a very good headspace.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting that I kept feeling it, but I couldn't find out for sure. So even though we never met in person, I was pretty connected to her energetically, did a lot of Reiki on her to try and help. And I never got the impression that it was a done deal, that it was like something she couldn't avoid. So it was kind of frustrating for that.
Yeah, well, things are so individual. I tried Reiki on a person with cancer of the leg once, and I couldn't get anything except a black hole. It's like all the full amount of energy I could dump in, maximum amount, just like went away, just got sucked up and ate by it, just like it was nothing. Yep. That was the first person I ever worked on that I felt like I really couldn't do anything for. It's just, there wasn't enough energy in the world to help that person with his cancer.
Carla says, Robert says, seems that since 2025 started, a lot more paranormal activity started. I was wondering if it's true, especially in the USA. I don't know. There's always been paranormal activity, so not anymore in my sphere as far as it goes that I've noticed.
More news and more cameras, so it's more evident and more publicized, probably.
I think so.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been posting pictures of like trail cameras that have caught a ghost and that kind of thing. And Carla says, sorry, Siofra. Yeah. Thank you. Asher says, I think so, like the UFOs or orbs. Well, yeah, I think that there's been a lot of activity, but like Ian says, I think it has a lot to do too with people focusing on things more. It's kind of like everybody was focusing on the drones, like going crazy about the drones, and then they officially stated that there was nothing with the drones and that they knew what they were doing and it was like an experiment. And I'm like, why didn't they tell us that at first? So I don't know if that's true at all. But then everybody went, okay, and stopped looking, I guess, or talking about it. Haven't seen anybody say anything about it in a while. Yasha says, yeah, it's the consciousnesses. And yeah, that's not true. Trinity says, hello, Siofra and Ian. Hello, everyone. Glad to catch your live this afternoon. Hi, Trinity. Welcome. Asher says, the orbs are real. They've flown through my place. Well, yeah, there's no doubt that there's a lot of real stuff going on out there. Robert says, yes, Astro, lots of these recently.
Yeah, I think I want to read that book.
Yeah, when
you're done with it, yeah.
Absolutely. Robert says, what do you wear now, Siofra, for crystals? Well, today I'm wearing an amethyst, blue chalcedony, green aventurine, emerald, black tourmaline, garnet, and tigerite. It just all depends. Asher says, and some of the orbs can shapeshift into drones or planes. Carla says, doorways of perception are opening. Well, I am hopeful for the idea of universal awakening. Yeah. Of course, I've been hoping for that for a while.
Kind of reminds me of Aldous Huxley. Doors of Perception thing.
Jen says, which book is that, Ian? It's a book called Imminent by S.
It's the government guy.
Right.
I
can't think of his.
No,
I can't think of his name right now. Right. But he actually was a military intelligence, and he worked on the ATIP program at the Pentagon and the UFO program at the Pentagon. And he quit his job and wrote this book so he could talk about it. Robert says, wow, you charged up with tons of energy. Yes, I saw those. It's going viral, Astra, since the last 3 weeks.
Is it Imminent? Is that the one?
Imminent, yeah.
Inside the Pentagon's Hunt for UFOs?
Yep.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
Luis Elizondo.
Luis Elizondo. Yeah, that's his name. Astra says, I don't believe in ETs. I think it's just beings that have always been here. Well, one of these days we might find out. Maybe it's a combination. Who knows?
Well, I'm certain that some of them probably, some of the I'm open to different aspects. I mean, we have these sightings, but the sightings themselves don't imply anything. I mean, some of them could be, if you want to look at it that way, genuine spacecraft, and other ones could be beings that were already here, and someone, I mean, they don't necessarily, all the sightings aren't necessarily the same things. Even the unexplained ones.
Right. Well, there's a lot of different types of lightning, for example.
Yeah.
And they're all under the category of lightning, but there's some lightning that goes down, some lightning that goes up, and different colors and goes into space.
Some orbs are probably just balls of light, and some of them
ball
could be,
lightning, which they still have some problem determining whether it's real or not. I know it's real because I had ball lightning explode over my head.
I think they know it's real, just nobody can explain it yet.
How it works.
As far as how it forms and stuff.
Right.
I think they'll know soon. It won't take them long. They'll be able to make ball lightning if they want.
So Shay put in Imminent by Luis Elizondo. Thank you, Shay. Jen says, thank you so much. Astor says, Chris Beldso wrote a book called UFO of Gods. He met the Divine Feminine. Robert says, hi, Jen. Astor says, I think the phenomenon can mimic whatever speaks to people. That's why it's hard to pin down. But a lot of people think the fairy phenomenon and alien phenomenon are the same phenomenon. Like I said, the speculation. Yeah. We need to keep an open mind and not try and narrow our focus too much as far as like we think we definitively know, because it could be different things. Just like, a skin rash can be measles or topical dermatitis, but
Yeah.
There's skin rashes.
Like everything else, I think each needs to be taken on its own merits.
But it's encouraging that they actually have some monitoring stations in certain parts of the country that they're setting up,
Yeah,
so that they can
produce
gather scientific data that the science community will accept as valid. Ickle Pixie said, "Can you tell us a little bit about what you know about how masculine and feminine energies interact, and maybe how they work best synergistically?" So basically, as far as magical processes are concerned, one is magnetic and one is electric as far as the energies go. And Ian can explain the electrical and magnetic fluids. And
Well, it's real simple. You have the analogous, you know how the elements are analogy: air, fire, water, and earth. Well, the electrical and magnetic fluids are the same. Magnetic fluid is everything that's shrinking down and attracting and um, contracting, you know, squeezing inwards, and also cold and rhythmic and associated with the moon and all those factors, the way the moon affects water and that. So the magnetic fluid is related to that, and the electric fluid is the same sort of thing, but related to the fiery element, where it's expanding and outgoing and dissipating and heating and all those things.
the fact is, you've got both inside of you.
Yeah.
And so it's not necessary to have an external partner in order to work with those energies.
That's true.
And it's, you know, it's like that is sort of a different kind of thing altogether.
Yeah.
And it has different complications too, depending on who you're with, etc. But yeah. So Carlos says quantum physics probably at play. Yeah, could be. I missed that one. Jen says, hello, Robert and everyone else. Blessings, light, and love on you all. Hi, Jen. Asher says, yeah, that's true. That's what Chris Bledsoe said, not to get attached to labels. Trinity says, I know this is off topic, but what are your thoughts on Llewellyn publications?
Oh,
Depends on the book.
I haven't read anything recently, but previously I've liked the stuff they put out.
But it depends on the book.
Yeah, we used to have a little business selling stuff from them for a while.
They have some books that are really excellent and other books that are just trash.
Yeah.
And, you know, like they pump out because people are interested in it. I mean, a subject comes up and you know, there's like some authors, and I use that in quotes, that are actually not necessarily real practitioners who pump out book after book
Yeah.
after book after book. And I don't know if they're using AI for some of that or not, but
Well,
I know
yeah,
some
so,
people that are published
you
by Llewellyn that I know personally, and they have good books.
And Llewellyn has some excellent books of publication, and like Siofra said, they also have some stuff that's just people, you know, the be nice if we had like a proof meter. You'd say, "Oh, you're a magical person," or "Oh, you stink. You don't know what you're doing." You know.
I'm sorry, no one should listen to you.
Yeah.
A thumb's negative 20.
But in general, I've been pretty positive about the fact that they put out all kinds of stuff and a wide variety of things.
Yeah. So like everything else, you know, not just buyer beware, but reader beware. You have to use your mind and your ability to discriminate between accurate, useful information and mad crock.
Yep. So I know they have a lot of valid magical books. We've got a whole library full of them that are from Llewellyn.
Right. They published, I think we got the entire encyclopedia of Crowley's stuff that I bought you one year was from Llewellyn. They carried it briefly.
We got this whole Sword and Serpent Magical Philosophy series that was put out by Llewellyn.
Yeah. So they have some good old stuff and some good new stuff, but it's like everything else.
Yeah.
It's kind of like movie reviews, you know? And what really works for somebody might be completely trash for somebody else. So again, it can be a very personal experience. So nothing specific, I guess, to say. Ickle Pixie says, I had a dream about getting the two energies to work together. No people involved. I'm trying to work out what my brain was trying to process. That helps. Thanks.
Well, yeah, you certainly can. It just amounts to your ability to use and control those, and that will grow with practice, like all the rest of your abilities. You know, the more you try to use it, the more it'll grow. If I was going to go electric and magnetic, I'd start with working with the water and fire elements first, and see if you can get some measure of control over those. I guess that means it's time to make that video I was talking about.
You mean with the,
That's one about the
oh, the one
elements.
about the elements, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yes, since the electrical fluid derives from the fire element and the magnetic from the water element, the more you can work with those two elements, the more you can work with the fluids, and that's basically the male and female energies. Um, if you want the air and the earth are the electromagnetic fluid, so the air and the earth both contain both fluids in a balanced form, for what that's worth.
So Gaga says, I heard there was an entity called Yaldabaoth that's responsible for keeping people from finding God within and instead having them worship things.
Could be.
Well, you know, there's definitely some forces that are out there that try to keep you from going down a path that the spirit has decided would be damaging to you or you're not ready for. And so it could be a basic distraction tactic. I mean, if you're totally serious about it, there's no entity that could stop you from delving into your own spiritual path. And sometimes those blockages are there to test you to see if you're serious about what you want to learn.
So this is supposedly a false god. He traps souls in physical bodies.
That's Yaldabaoth.
Yeah, in the Bible, he is a foolish creator who claims to be God. His blasphemy is a declaration of self-deification drawn from Jewish scripture.
Ah, so he's like the basics false idol thing.
He's a malevolent creator god. They call him in Gnostic sects. So, but you know what?
That's a Christian perspective again.
You know what? I'm gonna say something about this right here. And there's not one God or being or entity that controls the totality of a force like that. So, in other words, you can totally ignore the Yaldabaoth thing, especially if you're not in the Gnostic and that's not part of your background and learning and stuff. I guess the simple fact of the matter is, if you're not immersed in that philosophy, it's one that doesn't matter. You don't really have anything hindering your development for real that you can't get by. And there are 10 different deities for 10 different religions that will perform the same function with the same forces and things. So my thought is, rather than following out all the odd ones, you know, you're going to have more success with the ones that are closer to home. If you're working with beings and things, the only advantage you get from dealing with an esoteric god might be if you want some ability or something. But if you're not, I mean, it's hard to use Indian gods if you, for example, if you don't have that built into you, if it's not in your system, if you're not set up for it, you'll have such a hard time making contact with the power sphere of that deity that you'll hardly ever have success unless it's something that just comes natural to you. So, same type of thing. They're not going to affect you if you're not in that power sphere to start with. So I certainly wouldn't worry about all these foreign beings and things that are supposed to cause you harm. If you don't have that as part of your cultural heritage, I would say not worry about it in the least.
Absolutely.
I don't know if all that made sense.
Well, yeah. It's like there's nothing that can actually stop you from spiritual development unless you just let it.
Yeah.
So, Violet says, I know of Bledsoe too. Asher says, laugh out loud, the cheesy witchcraft books. Yeah, he's a humble guy and just tells the truth without exaggerating or making up fantastical claims. Carla says, I think I have a magical correspondence herbal book from Llewellyn. The author has a few books, but it's older. I don't know if his name, if I heard it. I think you're talking about Cunningham.
Ones,
yeah, probably Cunningham was what I thought.
And he did a lot of stuff.
And some of his stuff is accurate, and some of it I found to be in error. So, you know, again, using your own mind to figure it out.
If it is Cunningham, and I'm not saying that it is because it might not be, but he had a tendency to throw a lot of stuff in without verifying that it was valid. So he collected stuff that's been used that way in the past, and he just threw it all, into the book. So you might, if it's Cunningham's, while 80% of it is probably accurate, I'd try and verify from other sources too at the same time.
It is Cunningham, she
Yeah.
confirmed. That's what I thought. SL said, "Hi guys, I made it." Hi SL. Yay, finally. Ashley says, "Sounds like Scientology." No, I think that was not Scientology, but it does have some echoes in it.
Yeah.
Violet says, "Yay at Astra." Catchman, he says, "Our biggest demons are our self-doubts." Yeah, no doubt about it. And Carlos says, "Yes, it is Cunningham." And he's also got wood and tree correspondences. He's got stone correspondences. He wrote like a majority of the first correspondence books that became popular.
My thought is use him as a starting point. It's
Yeah.
a good starting point because he collects so much information, so much stuff in one place. But then just double check and make sure it's really what you want. I know that there's different attributions for cinnamon among different authors and things, for example, as far as whether it's for Venus or the sun or
Right.
different planetary aspects and things.
I look into the mythology and the stories around them and what culture they came
Yeah.
from to try and determine what feels right and what associations to use.
Yeah.
Kiara says, kind of connected to what Ian said, what if you don't feel so connected to what would be closer to home to you? Just go with what feels right.
Well, yeah, and
What works?
we do some stuff with some Indian deities and things, but Siofra has an affinity for them. I don't know why. In my case, I'm pretty convinced it was a past life, and had connected with some of them in a past life, and I've done some past life meditating and stuff. I think from India or Indian style anyway. So I do have a affinity for some of those, but that's going to be very individual and personal. And
Yeah.
if you have an affinity with one like that, then it's absolutely fine. If you can put yourself into that space, think like the culture thought and the worshippers thought. If you could worship it on its own terms, and that's why you're going for a deity, then that's good.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is that I'm very eclectic, and I think part of the reasons why I connect with a lot of different pantheons is because I remember so many different past lives. And if you're talking just about what's close to home, generally you're talking about where you were raised, what culture you were raised in, what ethnic group you are a part of in this life. That doesn't mean that that's the only connection you might have in the spirit world, because it's not going to look at just where you are right now. And like Ian said, if you feel connected to it and there's an affinity for it and they're open to you, I mean, the Hindu deities really like me. So do some of the Norse deities. It's like, they just go like, "Ooh, lovely. Let's have some of that."
I seem to have an affinity for some of the Santeria deities, although I'm actually not into that in this lifetime, so I don't know why. Maybe I was in a previous. I don't
I
know.
got ridden by one, so clearly there was some kind of a connection there. Unusual to have that done. Robert says, "Shifra, did you ever had any spiritual contact with source? What exactly do you mean by source? Like,
I think that would be like God or
I think the answer would be yes, but I'm not sure exactly how to describe it. I mean, I've been to the Akashic records, I've met the keeper of the records, I've had past life memories. I mean, Carlos says, "Thank you for that info, you guys. We'll be sure to cross reference." Yeah. Trinity says, "Was wondering, since seeing your video on haunted objects, have you come across anything like the Buddha head?" Love your channel, by the way. Thank you. You're welcome. And not recently. The Buddha head was a very unique thing. I haven't come across another like major haunted object in my community in the last while. Uh, yeah, that one was like a special case because it was conscious and awake, and it wasn't a haunted object so much as a defaced and tortured spirit that happened to inhabit the object.
Of course, I suppose that's kind of a similar thing.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're just words. What can I
Yeah.
say? But no, I haven't really come across another one. Asher says, yeah, I feel most connected to the Hindu deities. Robert says, I feel connected to music. Source, the God source of all creation. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get that close to that because it's too all encompassing. If you're actually trying to go to the creative force of the universe that created all life in existence, the human mind is kind of limited in its ability to comprehend and engage at that kind of a level. I've had a few encounters, but they're not things I can bring back and explain. It's not possible. So that's, I guess, yes, and it's hard to talk about. I did it a lot when I was a kid. Carla says, music is the answer. And Robert says, yes, Carla. Asher says, so if someone ever says glibly, Jesus loves you, you can say, yes, all gods love me.
Oh, I like that.
Yes. And I say, he's not the only one.
Instead of that old saying, Jesus loves you, everybody else thinks you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's a whole different kind of statement.
It's a, be glad Jesus loves you.
I have a quip when somebody says, have you found Jesus? I'm like, will you please stop losing him? You can't expect me to keep track of everything in the universe, okay? That's your job. That's your thing. Leave me out of it. I'm not responsible if you lost him again. So stop it. But that's like being a funny joke, haha. TT said, do you ever hear or know of harmonies of music when you are contacted by an entity in a dream? I have heard what I call the music of the spheres, which happens when I'm awake. And it's a music that I can hear. I've heard a couple of times in my life that is, again, impossible to describe, but it's kind of like the sound of creation, I guess, of everything. I don't know. But not usually when I'm sleeping. I've had a couple of interesting dreams, though. I had that one when I was working up at the prison where I fell over and the being that was there caught my arm and sort of, I never touched the ground, and I was kind of like straight and flat, but not touching the ground on my back, and my kundalini just went zam, like that, and I wasn't scared. It was very pleasant, and that was pretty cool. I really liked that one. So, Robert says, Carla, what kind of music do you listen to? SL says, have you had any recent experiences with the Fae? Yeah, they checked in on me a few days ago. Just sort of wandered by, just checking. It was no big conversation or anything, but yeah, they're around. Gaga says, what are some signs that you might get that you're connected to something in the spirit world? Strong intuition, a pull to be somewhere. Being able to follow your intuition is probably the best way to be in touch with the spirit world, because that's kind of a fine-tuned ability that when people are too distracted and too materialistic, they can't access. So if you have a finely honed intuition, then that means that you're already like partway there, being open to input from things you can't see with your eyes and things you can't necessarily hear with your ears, but a sense of that. And sometimes they're really blunt and they just sort of show up and you see them.
Really, though, they can be a lot. They can vary a lot.
Well, and in reality, you happen to be a spirit that happens to be in a body. So on that level, you're connected to the spirit world all the time because you are a spirit.
Yes, becoming aware of it, that's the trick.
That's the trick. Becoming conscious of the fact that you are indeed a spirit that just happens to be in a physical form at the moment, and accessing that understanding and knowledge and intuition and so forth. It's just not, yeah. So anyway. Carla says, rock is my preference. How about you? listen to a lot of solfeggio frequencies too. I guess that's Carla's response to Robert.
Rock for me, for what it's worth.
Me too. Asher says, ha ha, Ian. And SL says, ha ha, Ian. And Asher says, that's a bless your heart statement to people. Robert says, I like meditation music and also dungeon synth. Jen says, laugh out loud. SL says, ha ha. Violet says, that was good, Siofra. Lost Jesus. Robert says, solfeggio is awesome also. Carla says, I got tinnitus when what I perceive to be Archangel Michael. Yeah, I get tinnitus or tinnitus depending on whether you're a doctor or not. Apparently, they say it different. Um, when there's like a lot of energy around, yeah, I can hear the ringing in my ears, and it's not the same as the medical condition because it's different. Catchman, he says, how do I connect with spirit guides? I tried meditating, tried to speak loud in my mind before sleep. Well, that's a good start, but what you need to do is listen. Um,
Very
it's
true.
being able to quiet your mind enough to be able to listen to the response. Spirit is always trying to talk to us. I mean, it's the universe is always communicating one way or another with us in everything that's around us all the time. The trick is being able to put aside the distractions, the expectations of what you think is supposed to be like, and know yourself well enough in your own mind, like your own thoughts and your own anxieties, fears, self doubts, hopes, dreams, desires, whatever, to be able to recognize them when they happen so that when something other, which is not you, comes into play, it becomes easily recognizable, which is why we talk a lot about self work. Because knowing who you are is sort of key to the entire thing. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it is the lock that unlocks the door to everything else. Because if you don't know who you are, how can you possibly experience something that's not you? Because until you know who you are, everything is you in your own mind. Um, and that's why some people don't believe in spirit or other energies and beings and stuff like that because they think everything is a projection of themselves. And for those people, it might be true. They don't know themselves well enough to be able to tell the difference.
For what that's worth, um, I found that to be true with a couple tarot decks. Um, I own a couple tarot decks by people who hold the Western idea, the worldview that, which technically on a really high level is not incorrect, that everything in the universe is within them, that kind of a thing. So their tarot decks reflect that, and the end result I find is that their tarot, won't tell me anything I don't already know. I have to use a different tarot deck because their tarot decks will only tell me things I know, and I can't tell anything about what's coming up or anything if I don't know on some level it's happening. But I've used other tarot decks like the Thoth deck that give me very useful information that I was not consciously aware of. So, you know, not that the tarot is necessarily related, but that kind of worldview leads to a certain.
Limitation.
I think it is. Yeah, I'm not sure what I was going for with that, but
Carla says, Robert, is that like rave music? Dungeon synth? I'm going to have to look that up. Cashman, he says, I like to connect to a spirit would is willing to teach, guide me in my journey. How does one connect or alters the only way? Alternate reality? Um, well, I think I answered that question in a roundabout way from what I said to your previous question, how you connect with spirit guides. One of the problems with the question, however, is that you have an idea of what that should look like. And once you have a strong idea of what that should look like, you may not experience it as it's trying to manifest. Because spirit can come through a lot in many different forms, and teaching comes through a lot of different forms. I remember how incredibly annoyed I was whenever I asked for a teacher to come, and they kept telling me my children were my teachers, and I'm like, no, I don't want them to be my teacher. I can't ask them any questions. And it can be frustrating, I know. But when you have too much of a firm definition, goal in mind, and expectation of how it will present itself, then any other form is automatically discounted by your mind. And so if it's a subtle kind of thing, could be the way a breeze brushes against your cheek. It could be the song of a bird that happens to be in your neighborhood. It could be an animal that suddenly acts out of character and suddenly comes up to you or does something that is not in its best interest to try and get your attention. And if you're looking for a spirit guide that's going to look like this and act like this, those things will be out of the running, I guess. So keeping an open mind and trying not to label what it is. I know it's frustrating in the beginning when you really want to learn a lot of stuff, but at least now we have more access, I guess, to better books and sometimes better teachers and so forth through the internet. But still, it's a personal journey, and it's all about you and your own inner reality and how you deal with the world and stuff. So,
Well, any spirit guide that's going to come to you has to deal with things in a way that you'll understand and you'll comprehend. So your spirit guide is automatically limited if they want to make a conscious impact on you by the methods they can use. They have to use stuff you're going to understand and comprehend properly. So, yeah, the more open minded you could be, the more likely those things are going to manifest through.
okay, so Astor says the little Fae are like, yo! And then they drink out the milk carton and put their little fairy feet on the coffee table and then they take off. Robert says, Carla, it's more like medieval music and fantasy, ancient world kind of music. Jen says, rock for me too. Have you see? And Robert says, is the medical who is conditioned or the condition that is medical? Okay. Gaga says, how long did it take you to have the ability to see spirits like the Fae and people? I was born that way, so I don't have a time frame. And then I lost the ability, and then I had to learn how to use it again because my brain got too distracted by, things that were happening to me and around me and and whatnot, and also the things that people said about it not being real, etc. But I was born being able to see spirits and kept that ability for quite some time. When I realized I was different than other people, I tried shutting it down, and it worked for a while. And you can do that for a period of time, but if that is if it's an innate ability, it doesn't stay down forever. It has to get out. So Teresa says, I have a couple of spirits around me who help me with hard to do tasks like holding a screw that keeps falling or hanging something up that I was having trouble with. Carlos says, yeah, very different. I love you know what I mean, Siofra. Jen says, have you ever seen the video Republican Jesus? It's hilarious. No, I haven't. Robert says, it can take a long time, Gaga, but I am always more in the mood in nature among trees, etc., to call spirits. Teresa, cure me, please. TT says, have you ever had an archangel spirit guide defend you from a spiritual attack? I've had Gabriel intercede and smooth over disputes a few times. Yeah, we have Garuda, who is a protective Hindu deity that is sort of a personal protector of ours, and he's so good at it, I tend not to even notice that anything is happening. But then if something does get through, I have my own abilities to protect myself and get rid of whatever it is that might have leaked in. Because, we're all human. We can pick things up when going in vulnerable situations. I'm pretty sure I picked up some larva at the hospital when my granddaughter was there. But that was like a few minutes that before I went to sleep, and I noticed it because I know myself well enough to know when something not me is happening. And I blasted it. But it went away and never came back. So, but yeah, getting your own abilities and knowing that you have the natural authority to defend yourself and to arrange things to your liking is key to self-defense. Carla says, I'm going to check it out, Robert. Pickle Pixie says, do you feel pressure around your head with the tinnitus? Mine is always accompanied by a feeling like my head has just been submerged in water. Still not sure what it's connected to yet. Um, Sort of. I mean, the buzzing is sort of an interesting experience in and of itself. Um, and it seems to indicate that there's spirits around and a lot of energy available. Robert, thumbs up, Carla. SL says, I just communicate with my guides and ask them what to do constantly. I haven't met them, but I just talk to them.
Well, hey, even the attempt is getting you get that little bit of connection, a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Teresa says, Robert, you might rue the day you ever asked me to cure you. I can bite. That's not nice. Don't say that. Esther says, I like how interactive and fun the world has gotten since my spiritual awakening. Trees are alive. Fairies are real. Yes, they are. Robert says, SL, I rarely call spirits because I'm never sure who it is. Sometimes spirits lie about their identity. Yeah, this is true, which is why having clear vision is important. Because, yes, they can lie about who they are. And spirits can just plain lie. You can ask them a question, they can tell you a complete and total bogus crap answer that has no meaning whatsoever, like that guy who had his first astral experience in South America and met the very first spirit who told him the secret to a power was hatred. And he believed him, and sure enough, it was for him, which is just a lie. Not true at all. Catch Manny says, thank you. You're welcome. Robert says, you can bite. I would not mind, Teresa. Just kidding. Teresa, I just need sort of a scan so I know the root of the problem is. For me, I think it's like a sugar problem. It affects the electrolyte balance. SL says, Robert, I specify who I am talking to so I don't feel unsafe. And Robert says, good then. Trinity says, what is the magical correspondences for peacock tail feathers? Does it represent the third eye or something like that? Just curious, thank you. That depends on your culture. Peacock is sacred to the goddess Hera in Greek mythology. And in Greece, I think that a lot of people consider the peacock to be not good luck because the eyes of the peacock, Hera put the eyes in the bird when Argus, one of her monster children, died. He was the beast with 100 eyes. And when he was killed, she put his eyes in the peacock. And I met him, and he's pretty awesome and very somehow terrifyingly real. But in India, the peacock is considered a very powerful, special, positive bird because it has the ability to consume poisons without being harmed. And so they see the peacock in a different way. I personally love the peacock, and for me, the peacock became the bird in my astral temple that represented the water, which was a surprise to me. But then the Indian legends about it definitely associated it with water and milk and fluids and that kind of thing. So, and its coloration, so it made more sense. But that's a personal thing. Um, so, like anything else, there's not going to be one answer. It's going to depend upon what lens you use to look through it as. So, I think it could be because of its eyes, the correspondence, the third eye would make sense. And because of its association with Argus, who can see everything, he always has at least one set of eyes open at all times. So you can't sneak up on him, kind of thing. So it's a good guardian spirit in that sense. And also a spirit that can tell if you're telling the truth. That's the thing that I got out of it when Argus came and looked at me. I felt like there was nowhere to hide. Everything in my head was just opened up completely, and I was just bare naked to the universe, and any thought and any feeling I ever had was there for the looking. And I just passively accepted that that's what was happening, and he looked very closely, and then I was fine. So I'm assuming that if that was a test, I passed it because I didn't get blasted and didn't have any weird feelings afterwards. But it was a very real thing. It wasn't like an idea, it was visceral and sudden and surprising. So when that does happen, you sort of have a different view on what spirit beings actually are, not as an extension of yourself. I'm pretty sure I couldn't have done that to myself at all. Very counterintuitive.
Argus is an anagram of sugar. Not that that's relevant to
I don't
anything.
think that's relative. Relevant. Not relative. Relevant. Considering the fact that he was Greek and sugar is probably not. Conflation. Asher says, I'll pretend my hand is an airplane and invite a tiny fairy to be a passenger and sing Magic Carpet Ride from Aladdin. They like to play, so it's fun. I missed out as a child. That's a good thing to do, actually. It helps to get your child self active. And the inner child is really important when it comes to magic. Absolutely. Trinity says also 50s, 60s, 70s rock for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too.
Robert says little Janis Joplin tucked away just for those days.
Robert says 80s rock is also so good. Asher says this is probably why I can't get them to leave. Well, you're very entertaining, so why would they go? Robert says, Siofra, did you have a chance to meet a druid? Unfortunately, the druid I met was a bit of an ass.
And that one we didn't care for, yeah.
But, I'm sure the druids come in many sizes and shapes. I know I never got to meet Bonowitz, but I know his wife, or widow at this point, and I'm sure he was a very different kind of druid than the one we met here in town. But that's the thing, it doesn't matter what label you call yourself. It's like, are you a quality human being? He was not, or
yeah,
I should say is not.
In any sect or practice, you're going to end up with a few bummers.
Buttheads.
Yeah.
It's like, ah.
Yep.
But yeah. Carlos says, I feel the pressure. TT says, thank you. Have a nice day. You're welcome, and thank you too. Trey says, what's up, Siofra and Ian? We are sitting up right now. Here, answering questions. Barbara says, there are many definitions of moonchild to you, Siofra. What is a moonchild? If you're talking about Crowley's book, Moonchild, that was a special circumstance thing.
Plus which it was only supposed to be a book of fiction.
Right.
Yeah. There's a whole story associated with that, but maybe that's not what they're talking about. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Carla says, I like the blue on you, Siofra. Yeah, except it's purple. It doesn't, we tried to correct it beforehand, but then my face looked weird, so it's actually purple.
we just can't afford a good enough camera at this point to get the colors right. It's a beautiful purple in person. Yes.
But I like it. It's a nice shirt. Gaga says, I heard when you drop food, that's the result of a spirit that wants it. Or you're clumsy. Asher says, yeah, people can be dumb. This is true. No argument there. Jen says, 80s rock had too much synthesizers. Give me 60s, 70s rock any day. Well, same here.
You know what, everybody? I go for all of it. I go from Steppenwolf all up to Oasis and the newer ones, the Pretty Reckless. So I take it all. If it's good rock, it's good rock. I don't care what era it comes from.
That's a fact.
That's my opinion.
Just not in the country.
Not in the country, no, rock.
Just rock.
Yep. Little old Robin Trower.
All right. Hey, I made it to the end of the comments. Carlos says, me too, Ian. You like what you like. Yep. Asher says, I love 90s and 70s rock.
I like all of it.
I find it interesting that Ian and we've got, 14 years between us? And we have very much the same taste in music. A lot of it. Just so interesting. Asher says, and the oldies. Carlos says, same, Siofra, no country. Esso says, hell yeah, Ian. Well, I'm glad we all like music. Music is good. It's important. It sort of short circuits the conscious brain and gets right to the heart of things. Grateful Al says, I was about to say to Carla, how do you know it's not purple? Because I do see purple on my end, but it's like that blue dress thing, maybe?
Yeah, well, it's just we tuned it up. We could get just a little purple out of it, but yeah, it really is way more purple than it looks to anybody, I'm sure. Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Cameras, it's not, like being here with your own eyeballs or
Well,
my eyeballs and what I see when
if
I look at it.
if we had a couple $100 to spend on a camera, it'd be nicer. But
All right. Jen says, true dat. Ian, country is awful. Asher says, do you hear about that cult in Mount Shasta that wears violet? I haven't heard about them
I haven't either. No,
specifically.
Colton, Mount
Is this a
Shasta.
new one or an old one? And violet's such a nice color. Too bad it gets associated with a cult. I like all the purples. All the hues.
Saint Germain, huh?
Oh, they're the ones? Okay. I did not know that they wore violet. Is that for the Akasha or some other reason, or do they explain it? Are they still active? Ian is looking it up to see. Yep, she says they're still active. Carla says, oh, that's funny, the dress thing. I can see the purple hue. Beautiful either way. Thank you.
Oh, I don't know if this is the one that's in, but there's a Saint Germain cult. Saint Germain movement originated from the I Am movement, which was founded by Guy Ballard in the 30s. Yeah, he claimed to have encountered Saint Germain while hiking on Mount Shasta in California.
That's the one.
Yeah. Saint Germain was supposed to have been like immortal through his alchemy experiments or whatever. So yeah, okay. So I'm not familiar with it myself. That's interesting though.
Teresa says, do you have a white balance setting on your camera? Ian was fiddling with it, so.
Yeah, it didn't fix it. Yeah, we can't tweak it. The camera is just a cheap camera. That's all.
Amber Renner says, long time no see. Glad to see you're all doing well. Hi, Amber. Nice to see you again. Asher says, yep, I think that's it. They only wear purple. Asher says, haha. Well, I mean, it's a good color. Violet is universal Akasha color, so it encompasses all of the elements, earth, air, fire, and water. So Carla says, I saw that dress as white and gold turn black and blue right in front of my eyes. Craziest thing ever. Well, that's interesting. We saw a person riding a bike that was an old man with crazy hair that turned into a younger woman with a completely different face smoking a cigarette and no hair, facial hair at
Yeah,
all.
we both saw the same thing, and we can't explain that whatsoever. Saw the same thing at the same time. We're traveling in the car.
Yep. That was interesting. Riding a bicycle. You don't expect to see that on someone riding a bicycle.
I don't even really have a guess as far as that one goes.
Ashley says, I should dress in a Barney costume and attend the ceremony. Trey says, do you still see fairies? Yes, whenever I try. There's fairies all around. Jen says, Siofra, is there anything energetically that we can do as a group to thwart what Trump and Elon are doing? I feel so helpless. We have power in numbers, though. I know, I've thought about it, but I don't know if there is. I know that, let's for example, Putin has a cadre of witches that are protecting him. And I would not be surprised, considering how close Trump and Putin are, if he has not asked them to protect Trump as well. So he may already have magical protection, whether he knows about it or not. So I don't know. The only real choice we have is to stand up for our rights and to make sure we actually still have them and somehow institute some laws that mean that they can't be taken away and yanked from us every few years. So we'll see. People got to get a spine. They're in a position to actually do something about it. Maybe we could help them. Maybe that would be the thing to do, is to see if we can encourage the people that are in a position to thwart the plan and give them energy so that they have a conscience, a backbone, and the support that they need in order to get the work done. So that might be a way of looking at it. Instead of trying to stop him directly, help everyone else who's trying to do the right thing. Asha says, that's crazy, a shape-shifting grandpa? Yeah. Carla says, some kind of weird warp thing. That so sounds like a glitch in the Matrix. No, I think it was a shapeshifter, but I mean a spirit of some kind, and because other people had seen it,
Yeah,
not just us. do exactly the same thing in the opposite direction, going from the round-faced woman with dark hair to the old man with the gray hair everywhere.
I'm reserving my opinion, except to say that we saw it.
Yeah, we don't
That
know for sure what the
yeah.
heck it was. Carla says they're effing chaos magicians and there's definitely protection. Olga says, hi, I'm glad to see you. Question, what would you do if you can't tell what tree your favorite friend tree is, but he calls you to make your first wand out of a mist from him on the new moon? I want any tips? Um, well, I would say do what he wants and then maybe have someone who knows trees to tell you what kind of wood it is. Or maybe the tree will tell you what kind of wood it is. I mean, if it's that conscious, I mean, I would just follow its instructions, frankly, for myself. Kiara says that Jen, I would watch AOC's newest video, at least for understanding the situation. Andromeda Galaxy says, heart, heart, heart. Shay says, great question, Jen, and wonderful response, Siofra. SL says, yeah, that's a true shapeshifter. Aster says, that's actually funny, is shapeshifting Gramps. Andromeda says, of course, I tune in when you say shapeshifter, as am I, and just last night reading from Shapeshifter to Rome. Well, of course. I mean, isn't that the perfect time to tune in and say hi? Shay says that Olga, there are also books and apps to determine what kind of tree he is. Actually, you know, if you take a picture of the tree and you go into Google and do a reverse image search, you might find out what kind of a tree it is. If it's a deciduous tree and it doesn't have any leaves right now, wait until the leaves come in and the leaves will tell you a lot. If it's just the wood at the moment. And if it is an evergreen, then you should be able to identify it. But yeah, there are definitely apps that'll help you with that. I think I have a Plant Snap is an app I have that you can use to identify things. And Shay says, great suggestion. Ashley says, I wouldn't try to harm any political person because unless you know everything about the person and situation, trying to weigh their heart and dole out punishment can create some bad karma for you. Well, that's definitely how I feel. Because
Yeah, and you know, especially for something like that, that's a big political situation, and you know,
there's so many
trying
moving
to well,
parts.
the possible repercussions of anything you might do. It would be hard to tell whether your actions would be positive or negative. Really,
There's too many
when you
moving
got
parts.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You don't know what would happen if one piece got removed from the board and how everything else would shift. It would be
The whole
difficult.
butterfly effect kind of thing
Yeah,
would be
that's
a
true.
yeah.
Jam says, hi, healing community. Hi, Jam. And hi, Chica. Hi. Jen says, but I was just wondering if we could do something spiritually to bring light into the darkness. Well, we've got the Amethyst Crystal Web project is happening. It happens every full moon. So if you aren't participating in that, look at my video on it and get ready to it. And this full moon, which is only in a few days, it's on Wednesday. What you can do, whatever full moon work you want to do is fine. But at some point during that, you can access the crystal web and what we've been building is joy, peace, and tranquility, and send that to every warrior out there in the country that can help stand up for those things, joy, peace, and tranquility, for equality and everything else. And we can use the crystal web to send them energy, and maybe we should do that every month for a while. We used the crystal web to actually help clear a power spot I think it was in Krakow, and it worked. And so if anyone is near, if you have if you in the project and you have an amethyst and you can get it to, say, the city capital or state capital or whatever, where the people that are in charge of all of this meet, and you can bury an amethyst anywhere on their property, and then we can attach to that and then send it out through, Congress and senates and states as well as the country or whatever. So it could help. I don't think it could hurt. That's the thing. It's like you're coming up with these ideas. You got to look at them and make sure that there's not going to be a negative side to it. And I don't see a negative side because the way we've got it set up, it's like it's positive energy that's there that people can accept or not. They don't have to. And so maybe it would help.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, I can't think of a
Anything you can do about it,
downside.
yeah.
If anyone thinks of a downside, let me know. But Aster says, oh, yeah, Aster says exactly too many moving parts. Carla says, I do wish there was a way to encourage clarity of the population, though. And Aster says, I like the Amethyst Crystal Project. Brilliant idea. My city could use more peas. Olga says, thank thee and greetings from Germany. I do it. I'll do it. How exciting. Awesome. Thank you. And welcome. Trey says, what do you think of organite? Is that aragonite you're talking about? I have a piece of aragonite. I don't know about organite. I like the stuff. There's something about it that pleases me, but I don't remember what it does at the moment. Essel says, I love that idea, Siofra. I know a lot of activists fighting for our rights. Jam says, I travel in my White House, can do that. Wishes for them. Been there already. Okay, so we got a project, and so whatever time you do it, doesn't matter. Anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. Just like, feed the energy through the crystal web because it's all around the planet. We've got people in probably almost every country right now that have participated in this project on one level or another, and activate the web to help with our situation here and to help with keep people's hope alive. Because I know I've been growling a lot. And I would like to stop growling. It would be good. Jam says, in meditation. Andromeda says, Amethyst Crystal Web Project, you're a genius. Thank you. I started this project, about 6 years ago, I think now? I think it's been about 6 years, maybe longer.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So we've been working on it every month. I have my charging station on my altar and stuff like that. Someone gave me a 5-pound chunk of amethyst. And so I put that there too. So I've got all the amethyst stuff on there. And of course I charge this amethyst up, which is a stone this is one of the things that Jacqueline made. And I have my amethyst ring. I like to wear the amethyst that I've charged up because it helps to keep me centered and grounded and, not like all over the map kind of thing. Yeah, and you can do that too. Charge up an amethyst or a piece of jewelry that has amethyst in it during the project and wear that to help yourself to stay positive and to pay attention and see what can be done and so forth. So, yeah, that way we don't have to worry about generating a reverse attack kind of thing. I mean, if you got a group of people that is protecting someone magically and you go after them, right? That's going to generate a backlash. That's sort of like the whole point of them protecting them, right? But if you're not going after them at all, and what you're doing is just trying to help and feed the other people, I don't think that they'd even notice. So I think that would be safe as well. Andromeda says, Amethyst is sacred to Goddess Diana. Amethyst is just a great stone all around. Asher says, God bless Jacqueline. Jen says, my state capital is 7 hours away, but can participate locally. Well, you can put it in like the courthouse, local courthouse, city courthouse, whatever, because that is going to be on some level connected to the state, like the seat of the county that you happen to be in would be a good place to bury it. And anyone who does live in the capital can do it that way, so long as they don't get upset. I don't think they would even notice if you put some amethyst chips or something on their lawn. Probably wouldn't even pay any attention at all. So yeah, and we can maybe get one down to our local courthouse as well. I don't know if anyone has done it locally here or not. KJM says, how do you link up to your amethyst with the web? Okay, so I have a video called the Amethyst Crystal Web Project. It gives you instructions on how to do it. You need an amethyst. Obviously, it doesn't matter the quality of the amethyst. It doesn't have to be super dark or light. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be gem quality. It can be like a, just a little amethyst rock you pick up at a local rock shop or what have you. And there's a specific, we go through and you're charging up the amethyst, linking it to the full moon to charge up the amethyst, and then you're bringing the energy, you're imbuing it with the energy you want. In this case, joy, peace, and tranquility is what we're focusing on. And we first put it in to the, the air element. We go through the elements first, and after we get through the elements, then we go through the planes. So we take it from the physical plane to the astral plane to the mental plane to the akasha, and then really focus on that energy being there in the akasha, and then bringing it back down. And the idea is that things that are brought down from the akasha will manifest physically in our world. So that's the idea of this, and connect to all amethyst crystals throughout the planet. So anywhere where there are crystals in the ground that are amethyst, this is meant to connect to them as well, not just to whatever crystal you might have on your altar or that you might be wearing. That's why I called it the Amethyst Crystal Web, and it sort of came to me. It was one of those spirit inspirations a number of years ago, and it was very annoying on some level because I knew I wanted to do it. I knew that there was a specific way it needed to be done. I knew I had to write it out, and the words wouldn't come until the night before. It was like it had happened. It was there. It was an event, like in the Akasha, I guess, because the Akasha doesn't have any time or space anyway. And until I was close enough physically to the event, I couldn't pull out the words that were meant to be used. And I had to wait. And then they came. And then we did it and got started on it. And it's just been slowly spreading ever since. And when people of like mind get together like that, and are putting their energy into that kind of a major working, I'm sure there's other webs that are out there too. I've heard of some other people, other groups doing different similar things in recent time. Then the more people you get participating in it, the more oomph you get. It's just the way that works. So Kiara says, I have a small business. I'm not close to the capital, but I could ship a little amethyst in one of the packages, maybe. Yeah, they probably just throw it away. So I wouldn't do that and waste an amethyst on them. But if you have a friend in the capital, you could give it to them or mail it to them and ask them to put it on the ground. I don't know. Andromeda says, amethyst is the crystal that got me into crystals. I found one in my yard when I was 7 years old. Yeah, they've always been one of my favorites ever since I was little. Astra says, I saw someone sitting in a giant amethyst. Life's not fair. I want a giant amethyst. Probably cost like $6,000. Probably more. I think that's cheap for one you could sit in. There's like a rock grove in a park in Australia, I think. It's either Australia or New Zealand. And they have things that are big enough for you to stand inside of a giant. Yeah. Ah, God, that would just talk about being juiced. Jam says, not friends, no more, period. Okay, that's fine. You don't have them, that's fine. But you do what you can. Oh, Jam says, my angels told two friends did voodoo and got to jack my drink. Just found out now on the one did something to my drink. Oh my God, I'm crying. Oh, I'm so sorry. Somebody drugged you? That's not right. That's not a friend.
Yeah.
Not friends no more. Yep, I understand. I missed that. Jen says, me too. Purple was always my favorite color as a child. Astor says, laugh out loud. Yep. I think the guy charges people per hour to sit in it. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, it'd be quite an energetic experience, to be in something that big. But hey, you know, ah, yeah, with people like that, you definitely don't need them around. I'm sorry, Jam. That's gotta be so disappointing. I hate it when you trust somebody and then they turn out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, a pretend friend. Evil. I consider that evil, trying to trick somebody like that, or sociopath, which is also another word for evil, in my opinion. Ashley says Enya has a giant amethyst in her studio. Well, good for her. Can't go wrong with having amethysts around. They're just good for the soul. There's just something nice about them. Ashley says she says it gives her inspiration. That would make sense because the color is so associated with the acacia to start with, being purple like that. And that would be a good place for inspiration to come. She certainly is inspiring to listen to. So I'm glad we have a project.
I guess it's a good time for anybody to get any last questions.
Yep. Ashley says, yep, very nice lady. Yep, we got like 5 minutes or so. Another good show, though. I enjoy these conversations. Chase says, any last thoughts for today? I don't know. I'm waiting. Let's see if there's any last thoughts for today or any last questions. I think we covered some pretty good topics, though. It's always interesting being different from other people and then trying to find people who understand what you're talking about and having clarity conversations is a special event thing. Teresa says, I got some parcels to mail. I'll throw in some amethyst cams into them. Cool. Charms. Asher says, what do you guys do for creative work or arts? Well, Ian is going to get back into painting.
Yep,
I'm going to make some bunny beds. That's my next creative project. So I figured apparently the internet has discovered I have a bunny and they started sending all these ads for bunny products. And I saw these bunny beds and I thought, I could probably make those. So I'm going to make them. Asher says, nice painting. Yeah, on our Etsy site, you can see one of his works. You can actually buy it, a reproduction of it on paper or canvas. Asher says, and bunny beds. That's so cute. Oh my God. Yes, it is. It's very cute. And I tested out the idea first because, every bunny is different. So I took a towel and I rolled it up in the shape of the bunny beds and put it on the floor, and he immediately laid in it. And he went like, okay. Of course, now it's all over the place because it wasn't sewn.
Yep.
But yeah. Jen says, no questions, but just want to send out love, blessings, and positive vibes to everyone here in our collective. Be blessed, everyone. Thank you, Jen. Violet says, I still have my amethyst, both of them, and my very first crystal rock was an amethyst from a rock shop on Sandy Boulevard. $80. The two emulate each other in form too. The one for the project and mine too. Kiara says, that's so cute. Olga says, question, how would you describe how crystals work in our field? Do they harmonize us humans? I even heard once that us humans are the AI of minerals. Um, well, tuning into the specific energies of them, I think helps to tune our energy field for sure. It helps us to sort of fine tune the spaces in which we operate. And I have actually met a couple of crystal beings, which was a surprise because I'd heard about them but not met one. I met a kyanite being, and that was just interesting. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
So that's
almost everything has some type of being associated
consciousness
with
of some kind.
it.
So, finding things that are compatible with your energy and that help you along. They seem to be quite willing to assist when it comes to trying to keep things going. Carla says, love to you guys. Violet says, thank you. Pastor says, makes him a little Indian themed altar costume with a painting of him as a deity bunny. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to get some fleece, but we'll see what they have available for fabrics. Teresa says, are you doing anything for Valentine's Day? I'm working on a client in the morning. I don't know if I'm doing anything else. We don't usually celebrate Valentine's Day. We celebrate our anniversaries and our birthdays, but other holidays, it's like, yeah, And there's all that weird stuff around Valentine's Day anyway. Astor says that would be funny. And Jam says travel to 4 other planets. They not like to be called aliens, planets. Even said hi to one of them. They heard me. Astor says I was thinking of making a shrine for my cat as a joke. Well, get a Bast or a Bastet statue. I finally found one I liked, and it's on my altar. If you're going to make an altar to a cat, you need a cat goddess. That's the only thing that'll work. Since he thinks he's a god, well, he is.
Yep,
You know that.
All cats. Yep.
All cats are gods.
Yep.
And they're all like very sacred, special animals that have a connection to the other side and have magic powers and can heal us and warn us about dangers. Carla says, I have Bastet. Yay. Asher says, laughing. Yep, got to get one.
Part of the problem is they know they're gods. That's the difference.
Well, that's how I changed that cat's personality. It was by acknowledging the fact that he was indeed a sacred cat from Egypt. And that was one of the stories about animals I forgot to include in my video about how I encountered with animals. I was like, no, I forgot Tiger. How could I forget him? That poor guy. He was so cute. He completely changed his personality just like that by having a conversation with him and telling him how gorgeous he was.
Thank you for all the heart.
Yes. They are the true psychics, cats. Yeah, they see the spirits and usually don't care. They just go like, oh, okay, there's that. Our cat's much more interested in cats in our yard than he is in the spirits in our house. Reason says, you started talking about cats and Pinky showed up purring. Ah, see, they know me. Hauser says, that's so funny. Jam says, my chickadee cat says hi to one my angel. She's my friend, passed away. She kisses her. All right. My cat doesn't seem to realize she's a cat. She's so weird. She growls and meows in her sleep, but is silent when awake. Interesting, Jen.
Our cat makes lots of noises when he's awake.
Oh,
he's a real talker.
Oh, he has stories to tell us? Oh, my God. When we get up in the morning, it's just like, you won't believe what happened last night. I thought for sure you were dead. You went into your room and you never came out. What is wrong with you? I've been out here wondering what's going on all night long. And he just goes like, no.
He's got a big range of different meows
Yeah.
that he does.
He has quite the talker. He's a ginger kitty. All right. So Jen says my cat she doesn't even meow for food. Okay, guys, I guess we have to go, but animals, we love them. They make our life better, I'm sure. And they keep us out of our brains a little bit, which is important because we get stuck in our brains a lot. So, okay, guys, I guess we are going to see you next week at least, and we'll talk about how it went with our project on Wednesday. Remember, I'll post it on the community board, and I'll put a link to the video for those of you who aren't familiar with it so you can find it. So you go to the YouTube channel's homepage and go under community, and I'll put a link up there to that video and talk about what we've talked about here so more of us get involved perhaps. All right? Okay, so everyone's saying goodbye. It's been great, and sending us love and strength for the week and everything else. So blessed be everybody. Thank you all for participating. We really appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye.